Welcome, CommanderSmiths.
We are the CommanderSmiths.
I'm Adam Smith.
I'm Lowery Smith.
Don't worry.
We're cousins.
You nailed it. Way to go, Lowery.
Yeah. Woo! Finally got it. I'm back, baby.
I was waiting for the fuck up.
I was too.
All right. So we are going to kind of get into things really quick this week. But it's episode 171. Lowery's been having some
technical difficulties,
loading issues. We've been ready for like almost 2 hours at this point, but Larry's computer isn't ready.
My computer is rough for some reason.
We'll figure it out. So what are we doing? We are finishing something. We are finishing kind of like when we did the core cards for Commander. We're kind of finishing this little arc we have here.
Yeah. So we are going to fight a card for black because we haven't done black yet. So we are choosing Vampiric Tutor. Right?
Yes.
Right. Don't look at me like and not make any movement. I don't know if I'm frozen or not at this point.
For the YouTubers.
And so we kind of went with Vampiric Tutor. That is a very powerful card. It goes and finds all of those other cards that we've already talked about. So it's a very versatile card.
Yeah, Vampiric it's an instant speed thing, so it's kind of where I went with that one. So it's a little more tricky to deal with. Demonic's tough too. I mean, that's also a tough one, but we're not kind of focused on that. That one's just going directly to the hand, but that can be done on, it only can be on their turn because it's a sorcery. We're kind of dealing with the instant speed and trying to figure out ways to deal with that. So,
and I think also, so we're not saying it there is like a lot of the things that we come up with also affect a lot of different searching things.
All the tutors,
the fetches, anything that goes and get lands into play. There's a ton of different tutors: Worldly Tutor, Enlightened Tutor, Vampiric Tutor. Like a lot of these that we're going to talk about can be applied to all of these things.
Yeah. Oh man, I should have been tutoring the whole time there.
You should have your finger glued to that button.
That's the only time I'm going to do it because we're just going to be talking about toots the whole time. So, but yeah, tutors, even though our play group doesn't play with it that much, we realize that most people do. And the only reason that we don't is just because we want to make the game a little more random, a little more fun for us. Because it was just
having the same thing happen over and over with your deck is kind of cool, but also like
gets boring,
makes your deck one-dimensional. Right. And so having variance is important to me, at least when I'm building a deck. So I try and avoid toots.
I'll give you that one.
Thank you.
That's the other thing we've talked about that before is like it's made our deck building a lot different because we're trying to be more consistent with the idea of what the deck is doing. Whereas before it'd be like, hey, I only need these 3 parts and I'm going to tutor for them anyways, so it doesn't matter. So anyways, this is just kind of, we realize that everybody plays with tutors, and so this is going to be a way to deal with that. We do have one Stump the Smith Savant, and then maybe if we have time, we will get to our One Spec. If we don't, we'll get it next week.
If we're in the middle of something and we're like, we can just call it. We're going to call it.
Because it just kind of depends on what's going on. Because as we were prepping and everything, video was also kind of going to shit
glitchy.
Too, so.
There's a thunderstorm that is not my fault or my computer's fault.
Sure? It might be
potentially going to happen as well.
I do have to tell one story that I'm debating that I wanted to tell or not, and when it happened, I said this is gonna be funny to tell on the podcast, and Cindy's like, I was like, I don't know if I should. Okay, well, I'm gonna tell it. Okay. I didn't tell you about this beforehand. So, as a parent, it's hard to have adult time, if you know what I mean.
No.
So, and this is last night, we get the kids down.
Oh no.
And I was working on, actually, you guys were playing League and I was prepping for the podcast tonight. So I was like, once the boys are down, come into the podcast room and maybe, The sexy time.
Okay, the sex.
So, anyways, I'll fast forward. We had fun in the podcast room, but the funny thing is, I should get to the thing that I wanted to play here. As soon as I did my job,
Oh, it's a job. All right.
my thing.
Okay.
I'm not kidding you. I think 4 eBay sales. So we're in my podcast room. I have all my computer stuff on. The speakers are on. This is like Cindy, you know, I do my part with that. And Cindy hears this 4 times. She was just like, well, that was it's an animation button. And it just went ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. It did it more like a DJ because it was like there were 4 of them just in a row. It's like ka-ching, 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 ka-ching. So yeah,
I mean, Alexa sounds like she's pretty funny. So
so it's like, hey, I made a sale. That's what that whole thing was. It's my ka-ching eBay
money
sale.
in the bank.
Yep.
Shorty, what you think?
Anyways, I had to share that one. That one was
I mean, you could also have the clapping and cheering button going while you're talking about this too.
Okay, so any things you got we already talked about the second vaccine before. You got to play some League yesterday. Anything else happened this week? Fun stuff? No.
No.
We have the stomach bug running through our family, so that's fun.
Yeah.
That's
We're all the kids are now healthy after 2 weeks. So good, happy.
That's good.
I just
good.
Yeah, I'm a boring person. Don't worry about me.
What are you drinking there? I'm drinking my wine. Moved over.
Firestone Mind Haze IPA. I believe this is their kind of cornerstone hazy IPA. Pretty solid. I like this style better than last week's IPA. And I think there's 2 more Firestone hazy IPAs that are like different varieties. So we will see what those are like in the future.
Very nice. One thing I forgot to mention, you notice anything different about me?
You're wearing your hat?
I got my new hat.
Oh, you got free. That feels like a month ago, and you got that like last
Thursday.
Like 5 days ago. Yeah.
It was my birthday. I got a bunch of new hats, so I'm not wearing it. It's for YouTube as well. If you want to see the new style,
looks dope.
So, look at the really close, Lowery. Wait,
other way.
That is the Grand Canyon.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
You know, my other ones all have mountains and kind of like my tattoos, like doing this thing. This one is Grand Canyon. So you can get all these little etched things on there. Sorry for the podcasters, is more of the YouTube thing, but go check out YouTube, and that's the way you can see what I'm talking about.
Get into the tags.
Speaking of that, you can become a patron if you donate $1 or more. Gets you into the Discord, gets you into BattleBox League. No more unsnip for the time being. And then $5 or more gets you the Proxy of the Week. If you're $100 or more lifetime member, you can pick any proxy from any time that we have done those each month for the according level that you're at. The free way to support the show is to jump on YouTube, like I had just mentioned. Right there, you just go on there, subscribe, check out videos, like, subscribe, and maybe write some comments. We've been getting a lot of those. Lowery has Curated MTG, which is blowing up like crazy. I don't get the algorithms because all of a sudden one just went absolutely ape shit today, 5 days after it's already been out, but it blew up.
I just assume that it's bots. Just trying to help us out.
It's so crazy. It was just like, well, that was one curated.
Are you paying bots to watch our stuff? Is that what's going on?
Comes in our expenses later. But yeah, so what was your curated MTG? Not from last Thursday. What was today's curated?
Today's
MTG?
was Chain of Plasma.
Which is
Chain of Smog has been getting a lot of love, which is the black version because that combos with Professor Onyx. So I wanted to highlight Chain of Plasma, which is the red one. And the video talks about where it deals 3 damage to a player or a creature, and then whoever is affected can discard a card and copy that spell. And so a little combo there is you target your own Swans of Bryn Argol which draws you 3 cards. Then you discard a card to copy it, draw 3 more cards, and do it until your heart's desire. And
draw your whole deck out and you win the game.
Yeah. If
then
you're
you
going
just have-
Lab Man, that's
yeah,
just a different way to win.
It's what? Blue, white, and red. So you'd be playing a
Yeah.
3-color deck right there.
And so it's kind of a cool card. I really like it. But I understand, like, if you're also like, I don't like that card, and that person that you affected also just like discards a card to kill off something that's not yours, or sorry, like if you give yourself hexproof and can't be like re-hit with like Shalai or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, and it could be bounced around, and that whole cycle of chain of, you know, there's chain of acid, smoke, plasma, vapors, the blue one, which bounces. I don't even know what the white one is.
I didn't even know there was
That was probably bad.
Yeah, because it's white.
Because it's white. Probably gives protection or something.
But yeah, that I didn't even realize another card again that you post that I didn't even realize existed. And how did you stumble across that one? Did you, or you're not building, that doesn't fit in your Essex deck. That's where a lot of those other ones are coming from. You have another deck?
So, but I have like 3 decks right now. I'm back in the mood. So I'm yeah. So I'm rebuilding Savine. Oh boy. I'm rebuilding Savine, and I'm kind of holding off on it until like I get the video stuff figured out, which also has to come after me feeling like I can stay up past 9:30.
Such an old man.
I'm so old. And so we'll see when that comes about, but it's just like a fat stack of cards that is just sitting in a binder.
Nice.
Or in a box. And so whenever I get to that, I'll start throwing it together.
Very nice. All right. Well, that is Curated MTG. We also have Proxy of the Week. Well, Proxy Time actually on YouTube. And I started doing it live 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Doing it live again. We're doing it live this week. This week will be 8:00 Central Time. Because I got at swimming lessons. I'm taking boys to swimming lessons. And yeah, so 8 p.m. Central Time for that. And this week, actually, while I was waiting for your computer,
on Wednesday or Thursday?
Yep, Wednesday.
Okay.
As I was waiting for your computer to come alive, what did we do last week? It was Triumph of the Hordes. So I have a freaking sweet one for that. So it's gonna be, of course, it's X-Men themed. We're trying to keep with.
But last week's was To Furious Protection. The Magnetos. Oh my God, those look so good.
So there's a lot of post production on the Magneto that's put in his hand over. I wish I would have kept rolling with it because I did a lot with the rays, another probably 15 minutes of work, but they both turned out freaking fantastic.
Yeah, the white version.
Yeah. That was the one that you liked a lot.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
But yeah, so that is Proxy Time. We also have all our shorts. You can check out this podcast where you can see all the previews of every card, see our pretty faces and all that fun stuff on there. Just go on YouTube, subscribe, and you'll get all the notifications. All right. And then jump on Twitter. That's where you can see Proxy of the Week, Curated MTG, Not Sharing with Adam. Sometimes we post other things on there as well. News, maybe. Sometimes. I don't know. Or you can shoot us a direct message there, or just shoot us an email, CommanderSmiths@gmail.com.
Yeah.
That is it. That is the tags. We are done with that. We don't get a...
Holy shit. We're like 6 minutes ahead right now.
You want to talk about anything else?
You're welcome.
All right. So now I just got to get to the actual...
No, I mean, we could talk about how hard it is to do whoopee when you have kids. I got a kid that we're on the second floor and doing what?
Do whoopee.
And he sleeps on the first floor. You can and so what he does though is he sneaks up at night. I can't hear him.
Hello, boobies.
Yeah, I mean so it's you can't just do it randomly in the middle of the night or too late, or you kind of got to do it like, hey, we're going to bed. What you think?
We've
and then
had some very close calls as of late where it's completion Well, sorry. Let me get that
You.
that button.
Yeah.
Completion, and then uh, and then not seconds later we hear the door handle. They both know how to unlock it because it's one of those stupid ones that doesn't need a key. You can just stick your fingernail on the thing.
It's a
and
bathroom lock.
Yeah. So we need to change that. We like prepped by like having our robes in here, like laying on the floor.
That's a good idea.
They came in, we were gonna be like, oh, mommy's just hanging out with daddy while he's working.
Just chilling.
Whoopee with kids.
I mean, no, but
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I can just picture. I'm gonna edit in Whoopi.
Might
Goldberg.
just cut that one out.
I was gonna put Whoopi Goldberg in there with kids. Can you?
Totally makes sense.
Can you send me pictures of your kids so I can just have Whoopi Goldberg in the middle and then our kids all surrounding her? I'll just get random ones off of Google. All right,
I can have random kids off Google. Yep.
Yeah. All right, let's get into. It's time for everyone's favorite game show, Stump the Smith Savant.
And you promised me I was going to get this like that.
Yeah, you will.
This is always when I struggle.
You'll get this faster than it is for me to explain how this game works. I am going to read the flavor text of the card. Excuse me, that's a couple glasses of wine right there. I'm going to read the flavor text of the card. Our savant Lowery here is going to try to guess what that card is just by the flavor text. He will ask yes or no questions. Every yes, he will hear this.
Hello, boobies.
Every no, he will hear this. He starts off with 100 points. Every wrong guess is -10. Every clue is -5. Points don't matter. And here we go. It's going to be instant. I barely escaped with my life. At that number, they could take on Emrakul herself. Samelia or
If you can't read it, it's going to be really tough. But I'm going to guess that it's Squirrel Nest. All right, it's squirrels. Squirrel Mob.
Hello, boobies.
Sorry, it's hello.
Hello, boobies.
It's hello.
Okay.
Say that. Hey, that game is done.
There we go.
Yeah. The reason we did that is because we kind of talked about it today on the Discord about how the new, which we can kind of touch on that really quick. Modern Horizons 2 has been spoiled this week. Started spoiling this week. We got an amazing new Squirrel Commander Chatterfang, and basically it can take down an Emrakul by some of its powers that it does. So
yeah, seems awesome.
I was doing that, and I had a second one because of all the audio issues and computer stuff. We cut the other one out, so that one will be for next week.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I guess we still have the other button.
You have to like pretend like you want to use a condom. I like to say something fun when I bring it up, but honest, I'll be like, "You're gonna want to wear this. I've had a busy month." It's like a petri dish right now. I don't know what's happening.
It doesn't even make sense anymore because we don't really have plan B. But that's all right.
We could always go back to the hard rock button.
I almost deleted that today. I got rid of the... Nope, I kept the harp one.
I love that one.
Get rid of because I added that one in so we can do this.
Oh.
I think that's
a good one.
That's the button for just finishing. Like, did you ever watch The League? Like,
no, I didn't.
Called, what did they call it? Shit, there's gonna be people listening and they're like, oh, they had a name for ejaculation and they called it something. But I was thinking this could be our when you did this last week, I could have been like,
that's true.
Did you watch the video by the way? Probably not, because you edited, so you probably edited the audio. I threw up semen on our screen.
Gross. In the YouTubes, or was it a short?
On the YouTube, I threw it on the camera.
Okay.
I didn't make it look really like semen. I made it more like just splatter on your camera, and then I did it on mine because I did it afterwards.
Oh no.
Yeah. So okay.
How'd I get it over there?
Yeah. You're talented. I mean, I gave you gout through Zoom. How
Yes.
You probably gave My camera semen from
Can't wait until you get a bunch of little baby cameras going around. I'm very fertile.
All right. Actual episode here. So we are working with Vampiric Tutor, or tutors kind of in general, ones that specifically, in this case, we're talking about ones that put it to the top of your library. Those, a lot of times they're instant speed, the ones that do that. And a lot of times that player plays it smart and they do it right before their turn's about to start, or they have a draw effect or something like that. So we have this kind of split into two things. One, we have instant speed stuff. So they do it and you have a reaction to it, like kind of a surprise thing. But then the other part of it is more of things like if your group plays with a lot of tutors, it's more of kind of like preventative ways to handle tutors in a way. So we'll just go through both of them at the same time because there's kind of like little categories that we have this all in. So what is our first one that we wanted to talk about?
We're going to talk about search denial, which is probably the obvious choice for this. And it's just kind of like I'll just say it. Opposition Agent is a new card, and a lot of people were like, this card's crazy. And it's a good card for sure. And this is something that really can fight against tutors and searching and all that kind of stuff. And so it has flash,
instant speed. Yeah, and then
once
the player getting what they're searching, that's just insane.
Yeah, it does two things because it gets them. It has the gotcha factor of instant speed, and then it also prevents people from doing it again.
Mm-hmm.
And so that makes it a really solid card for sure.
One that's very similar is one that was pretty much one of the only ones before opposition agent was Aven Mindscensor.
Yeah,
which you had played with that one. It's a little bit. I've seen that one before. Opposition.
I like this effect, especially in white, because
and what it does is if somebody's going to tutor, an opponent's going to tutor, they can only look at the top 4 cards of the library. So if they're looking for a specific card, you're like, well, you
get these 4.
Hopefully you find it in those first 4. Otherwise, you're kind of screwed.
Or hopefully not.
Yeah. So those are kind of like your instant speed hindering.
There's Shadow of Doubt as well.
I don't know Shadow of Doubt.
It's Dimir instant. Libraries can't be searched this turn, and you draw a card.
I have to look at it. Oh, okay. Yeah.
This was a modern spike years ago. I traded like a foiled Chinese for like $30. I was like, sweet. I bought it for 2. Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
Foil one, huh? That's pretty good. Pretty good. I also had in here kind of hide and seek was one that I threw in here as well.
Yeah.
So hide and seek, what that does is you actually can search for, well, the problem is it's 3 colors because it's a split card. So you can either do red and white, which is the hide part. That one we're not talking about, but it's seek is the one that you're more focused on, and that's black and white. And it's search target opponent's library for a card and exile it. You gain life to its converted mana cost. Then that player shuffles their library. So you also have a shuffle effect in there as well. But you can they go to search for a card. You're like, oh, you like that card? Well, I'm going to remove it
and gain some life.
Gain life. And you're going to shuffle.
Or you can just, if you need to gain that life, you can go and find the highest CMC in their deck, gain that kind of life, and it's still shuffling that tutored card away.
So go get that Crater Hoof out of there, gain your 8 life off of that, and you're golden.
Yeah. Some other cards that are may shuffle, and so it kind of puts them in like the weird position to like, do they want to go and get example, Path to Exile?
That's an interesting one. I like that.
If they go and tutor and put whatever they want on top, and then you go Path to Exile one of their creatures, they have to make the decision of, do I want to go and get that basic land and shuffle away whatever they tutored? Probably not. And so your Path to Exile became a lot better, but it doesn't necessarily get rid of that tutor like we're talking about.
Or you do it and they go to search for their land because they're like, you just killed my creature, and forget that they just did. And they're like,
yeah,
yeah. Like, well, you already started. You're done.
Yep. And you also have Assassin's Trophy and Ghost Quarter that are very similar to that idea and very playable cards as well.
Well, speaking of that, with Ghost Quarter, I think Field of Ruin is one that would kind of fit in there with the land a little bit. That one, though, it's not a you may. The problem with that card, Lowery, you don't like that one as much because everybody's going to get a land. You're destroying it.
Yeah.
And it's making everybody go get a land, but then it makes everybody shuffle their library. So,
I mean, there are some benefits now that you're saying that it isn't. It's a forced search, and so I do have a deck where I'll be like, you know what, I can put that. Like, it might be it's playable and probably Zozu the Punisher.
Think of Obnixilis.
Obnixilis, Unshackled that we'll get to. So like, there are some decks that it definitely fits into now that we're talking about it. But otherwise, I think it's a garbage card. Like, don't just play it for no reason.
Those 22,000 people, you guys suck.
So bad.
Was there anything else on this?
Chaos Warp.
I like that one too. Was that a must on that one too? Did you check?
I'm not 100% on that, but either way, very super playable card. And if they put something on top and you're like, I'm going to get rid of that permanent you control, I'm pretty sure they have to shuffle because it's putting that card in top.
Says the owner of target permanent shuffles it into their library, then reveals the top card of the library. So I mean,
it's happening. It's not a may.
Yeah.
And so that's a good way to aggressively use Chaos Warp when you're just going like, okay, we all put cards on top of the library. Let me use it. Just it's that extra level of just like, I'm not going to throw around Chaos Warp. I'm going to wait for the opportune time to get rid of that and a tutor. It's like a 2-for-1 almost.
Totally. Because they're getting the card they want and you're getting rid of something at the same time.
Yeah.
All right. So anything else with Stop the Tutor stuff?
So the other thing that isn't necessarily, because we're going to get into like the top manipulation now.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
We kind of hopped into a little bit because we had Shuffle the Libraries a little bit. So let me mention two more off of that really quick. So Emergency Powers is one that everybody, the part about that though, is it's so mana intensive that it's tough to have that one as like your surprise, but it's each player.
Got you on a tutor.
Pay 7. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library, then draws 7 cards and you exile it. So it's like, it's at instant speed. So that does work, but more often than not, you're wanting to do this on your main phase because you also can play something that's 7 or less
for free.
Yeah. For free. But it is an option, just having it there. And then a really fucking expensive option is Natural Selection. And let me read. That's 1 green, and I believe it's you. Okay, let me just pull it up before I actually start trying to guess. Look at the top 3 cards of target player's library, then put them back in any order. You may have that player shuffle their library. So it's an option for green, but it's really expensive. You can get the collector's edition for $64, but those aren't like technically legal. Everything else is 300 plus. So that one I wouldn't say you're getting necessarily. So let's move on to like kind of the mill stuff where you're getting rid of the actual top of their library.
So an interesting angle that we I mentioned before was there's 3 cards that I was able to find. I think there's a few more, but cards that put other cards on top of that player's library. And what it does is it kind of stalls them a turn if they are not drawing an extra card that turn. So what I'm saying is Submerge puts a creature on top of that player's library, and you can play that for free at instant speed as long as somebody has a forest and you have an island.
Which that's going to happen.
Yeah, both super played, and if you're in blue, you're going to have an island. So So you can just do that at instant speed, put 1 creature on top of that tutored card, and it kind of hopefully makes it an extra turn where they don't just get it right off the bat. Noxious Revival can target a player. Normally you want to be doing that for yourself, but it could bury that tutored target one. And Unexpectedly Absent is also kind of like an interesting white removal card that it's white X, and then you can put target permanent on top of the library, X down. And if you just go white, put it on top, then it's burying that tutored target one. But that's also a really good card for when they go tutor, or if they're going and fetching, you're going white, put this on top, you're shuffling it away.
Shuffle, so you actually lose that card.
Yeah. So like it's kind of a cool card. That was initially how people wanted to use it as well.
There is quite a few cards that do milling off of people's library.
Yes. Yeah.
I prefer the ones that you can at least replace the card. So like Thought Scour kind of does a mill and you get to draw a card, but you got Vision Charm. I put Glacial Grasp, Ray of Eraser. What is it? Foreshadow. This is a green one. This one was interesting, but it's I'm a Stide Weave. I'm a Stide. I'm a Stide Weave. It's a green. I want to pull it up. I have it here. I should be.
Did you say Thought Scour?
Yep, that was what I started with.
That's probably the one that I like the most because it allows you to cantrip a little bit, and I've debated on putting it in Calmax as just like a cheap draw, and then maybe just milling somebody. I think I want something a little bit more than just mill.
Yes.
Unless you're in a mill deck, And if you're in a mill deck, you can kind of, that was an interesting thing that I was thinking, like mill could be so much powerful if they gave them instant speed, because then it could screw with tutors and draw steps and all that kind of stuff. But so many of the powerful cards they have is at sorcery speed.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was kind of like interesting. That's something that they could do to power up mill if they ever wanted to do that, which clearly they don't.
I just wrote it down on my paper wrong. I thought it was an I, but it's an L. It's Lamastide Weave. So it's green and a colorless. You name a card, that player puts the top card of their library into their graveyard. If that card was named, you gain life, and then you draw a card. So that's a green way to mill something off the top there. But a couple of those are kind of nice. Was it like the Foreshadow, I think, or Predict, where you get a benefit of drawing 2 cards if you name the right card.
Oh,
so that's kind of nice because you know what they're getting typically, unless it's a search for any card type of thing. And then, did you mention the new card with the cycling one?
No, I haven't.
So there's Fractured Sanity. It was the brand new card that just kind of got spoiled today. Not even kind of got spoiled. It did get spoiled today.
Officially spoiled today.
Yeah. Card is fucking nuts by itself.
Looks really cool.
It's 3 blue for a sorcery. Each opponent mills 14 cards. But if you cycle it, which is 1 blue and 1 colorless, which you can do at instant speed, each opponent mills 4 cards. So every opponent mills 4, and you're still drawing a card because you're cycling it out of there. So that's a pretty interesting mill effect right there.
No.
Was there anything else?
The one that I kind of like a heavily played removal spell is Reality Shift. And that's blue colorless instant, exile target creature, and then that player manifests the top card of the library. And so if they go and tutor, then again, you can go and exile one of their creatures, and that tutored target is manifested into a 2/2 creature onto the battlefield.
You just gotta hope that they didn't go get a creature.
Yeah, I mean that can be the case, but like in my mind, like they're going for cards that we've talked about, like they want Teferi's Protection or Cyclonic Rift or the Triumph of the Horde, or they
can never get it back if it's not a creature, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. And so that's, if they do go get a creature, I mean, still a big whatever, because it's a 2/2 colorless until they can flip it. So it makes it more vulnerable. But That's how I was kind of seeing it, was just like they're going and getting a game-breaking spell or like a counter spell to protect what they want, and you're just kind of screwing up with it. You know, if they went to go get a Gaia's Cradle, it's now a 2/2. So
Yeah.
I was just like, if you are, again, very similar to the Chaos Warp of, if you hold on to that kind of thing until there's a tutor target and goes on top, then you can 2-for-1 it a little bit. Waste their tutors are powerful. So if you can screw with those, that's good.
And then I had one more thing, was Grizzly Spectacle, but I don't know who's going to play with that as much, but it's a removal. It's 2 colors and 2 black, and instant speed, destroy target non-artifact creature. Its controller puts that many cards equal to its power from the top of their library in the graveyard. Not one I'm going to use very often.
I don't recall
but it's
that
there.
at all. Yeah.
It's from Gate Crash. So, and looks like Modern Masters and Iconic Masters. It's 25 cents. Even for the foils. So it tells you how good that card is. So
they're not thinking about it like we are, though.
Right. Okay. So then do we want to get into the specific like prevention stuff right now?
Oh, so there was 2 more bits that I do want to talk about. So Silence and Orim's Chant, if you can cast those during the upkeep, and that player can't cast spells that turn. So even before they draw.
So you're saying because then what they're drawing, they're not able to play it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so those are the only 2 that really kind of do that deal at instant speed right at the beginning of a turn before they draw. And then I know that we didn't set it up saying you can't counter spell, but the general wisdom is you don't want to counter a tutor. You want to counter the spell that's being tutored. And so just knowing that knowledge of just like, let's see what they get.
Right.
You know, because sometimes they're just going for a land. And let's be nice to people trying to get a land.
Yeah,
that's fine. That's fine. I have demonic tutored for a basic swamp way too often.
It's because you build bad decks.
I build bad decks.
I don't know why I did it there.
Did you just come?
Yeah, I guess I did.
In your pants? All right. I mean, it was a good burn, but not that good. So.
All right. So now we get into prevention.
Yeah.
So the obvious one is, well, Stranglehold, which just.
So we're going back to search denial.
Yeah.
I would say. So prevention, that's just on the board. They just,
but they see
they can't do it. Yeah.
So that's the hard part about this part is like, I guess when we get into this section, it's more of your group plays with a lot of tutors. These are cards that are going to prevent people from doing that. You know, most likely they're not going to play their tutor with Stranglehold sitting on the battlefield.
Yeah, they won't, because that'd be bad.
Yeah.
They need reminder tokens for everything then.
Yeah. Then you have Obnixilis, Unshackled. Lowery has been killed by that before.
Yep.
That one does damage if you search. So you can search, but it hurts if you search.
You lose 10 life. And then, see, okay, that one sucked because it was my Obnixilis that somebody else, you copied, and then somebody else copied, and then Trombley had Wound Reflection out. And so I went and searched for a basic land, forgetting that those 2 were out. I'm like, oh, I just lost half my life. And Trombley's like, you just lost 40 life and you're dead. I'm like, fuck.
Wasn't it you figuring it out? We didn't even point it out. It was like you figuring out like a turn or 2 later. And you're like,
yeah, it was almost back to me. And I was like, oh, I just searched. So I just lost 20. And then Trombley's like, Wound Reflection, you're dead. I was like, oh. Then I went and had pizza.
Like
that's my Teferi's protection. Yeah. Kill myself.
Then I had Ashiok Dream Renderer. That one just prevents that as well. What are some other ones that you had in the prevention category?
I got Mindlock Orb, which affects everybody.
I don't know. Why don't I know that one? Mindlock Orb?
Yeah, blue 3 colorless artifact from Shards of Alara, and then it's just players can't search libraries. So that's a total shutdown. And then there's Leonin Arbiter, which is colorless white 2/2, and then if somebody's searching anybody, they have to pay 2 to search.
So it
So
just
those-
hinders a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean those two affect everybody, and that's like the bummer because like
'Cause yeah.
Ashiok, Mindscensor, Opposition Agent, Stranglehold, that all affects your opponents.
Yeah.
And so Obnixilis. So yeah, that's, you know, whenever it's affecting everybody, you always want to like kind of reconsider going like, am I running enough that this is going to affect me too much?
Yeah.
And generally I look at that and I go, I'm running fetches and it still affects me, you know?
Yeah. All right. What else you got on there? Because I don't have anything else on my list.
Okay. So you got nothing else. All right.
I didn't do my prevention stuff. I only had a few things because then I just focused on the instant speed stuff. So at this point, it's your court, Lowery.
All right. So I have 2 for the forced shuffle section for prevention, which is okay. So Rishadan Pawn Shop, not a good card. It's 2 colorless artifacts, and then you can pay 2, tap it, and you shuffle a creature into its owner's library.
From their graveyard or from play?
From play. And so what you would have to do is steal their creature and then shuffle it back in at instant speed to have them shuffle in their tutored object as well.
Wait, what is? I don't know this card.
It's not good.
What is it called again?
Rishadan Pawn Shop.
Rishadan. Oh, it was there. Rishadan
Pawn Shop. So what you want to do is okay. So I'm making Thraxamundar, which is going to be stealing and sacrificing and stuff like this. So that's why it's kind of half on my mind.
I didn't hear the you control into owner. That's
yeah. So it's you have to steal it.
Yeah, this is
and you control it, but then it gets shuffled into the opponent's library after they tutor. So you like. All right, let's stretch.
Yeah,
right.
That is.
Here's another one. This is similar to burying the tutor target. It's called Widespread Panic.
I do know that one. Yes.
Red 2 colorless enchantment. Whenever a player searches or shuffles their library, they have to put a card from their hand on top of their library. So that means the tutor is fully resolved and the target goes on top of the library, and then they have to put a card from their hand on top of the library. So it'll take more than one turn, probably, maybe, to get to that. And so, and it's kind of an interesting, cool card. Again, that's one that affects you as well.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know if I'd play it.
I haven't yet. But I think like I would put that next to like Leonin Arbiter type decks. So like if it's affecting me, I would consider it. Timing restrictions, which is going to be the same list that we had for Cyclonic Rift.
Yeah, so we can just
to reference that back.
Check.
We're not gonna...
Go back to Cyclonic Rift or click the link if you're watching YouTubers.
And then I have a lot of like kind of interesting mill cards that are prevention, like if you're not paying attention.
There's a lot of ones. You might just ramble through these because there was a lot that
I should just shorten the list, the ones that I think are actually really playable. Hold on. Consuming Aberration is kind of a cool card. Its power toughness is to the size of your opponent's graveyards, and every time you cast a spell, they have to mill until they hit a land.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they it's on the battlefield, so they go and tutor, they're guessing or banking on you not having a spell that you can cast at instant speed. and then you can just potentially cast a spell and mill that tutor target. The
Wait,
ones
is that just for you, or is it for everybody? Consume.
I think it's whenever you cast a spell.
Whenever you cast a spell, each opponent. Okay.
So one of the, I'm going to go with 3 cards as a bundle a little bit because they are upkeep triggers that mill. So there's Mesmeric Orb that whenever you untap, you mill. Dreamborn Muse, which is mill for how many cards are in your hand.
A lot of cards I play in my Brewvac.
Yeah.
All
and then
cards.
Thieving Amalgam, which during their upkeep, it was from Commander. It is in number 2's Eureka deck.
Hey, number 2.
That steals.
Oh, yeah, the big ape snake.
Yeah, yep, exactly. So during the upkeep, they need to manifest a card to you. And so
you even get the card that's there, yeah.
And so those are cards that are like on upkeep, like it basically shuts down tutors. They're like, yeah, we can't do that.
Then that works. If you have this out and then that stupid artifact you just talked about a little bit ago, then you can give them back whatever they tutored for and shuffle it back in their library.
And then affect their other tutor. Yes. Yes. I like how you think. Thank you. Thank you. One, I would be a little bit remiss if I didn't say it. Altar of the Brood. That's a Mr. Combo special.
Right.
And
I did want to mention about Mr. Combo. If we had more time in the beginning, I was going to mention that we affected him with gout this week.
I know he has gout too. I'm so sorry.
It's so crazy. I've only known of one person having gout my 38 years of, or I guess I turned 38 last week, 37 years of life. I knew one person with gout, and now it's like fucking everybody's getting gout.
Everybody. We're all drinking too much beer, living a king's life.
That's what COVID did. Everybody was indoors drinking beer and eating meat and doing shrooms, right?
Yeah, I mean I don't know about the shrooms part, but definitely less activity.
Yeah. Right. So anyways, back to it.
Altar of the Brood is whenever you have a permanent come into play, your opponent's mill a card. So if you just have an instant speed token or like have a fetch open and go get a land, that can easily mill away whatever is tutored on top. Mind Crank, which is like a combo piece for
Is it Painter Servant that does work?
No. It's the Ascension, the Black Ascension. Ascension of Blood Chief Ascension. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
I got there. And Liability, same thing. And so that could be in there anyway. So if somebody can just do instant speed damage, they have to mill that card. And so it's whenever a player loses life, opponent loses life, they have to mill a card.
And if you have Blood Chief out and you have your counters on it, then they just mill them to death basically at that point.
Yeah. Yep. Una, Queen of the Fae, and Geth, Lord of the Vault, both have like a swamp X
mana
and then can
ability.
mill at instant speed. Sir Conrad the Grim, which has been a really popular,
from Dominaria, right?
Or
no, is that
Throne of Eldraine?
Eldraine, yep, that's
Throne.
right.
And so you can pay black colorless, everybody mills one, and then you get to deal damage and stuff like that. Altar of Dementia. I know you talked about that one too. So instant speed, you can sacrifice a creature, they mill its power.
See, in a lot of these kind of cards will be in a type of deck with those as well, because a lot of those you've talked about, I'm like, yep, Brewvac,
That's a mill.
Brewvac.
But I think like something like Altar of the Brood doesn't have to go into a dedicated mill deck, but it can go, like if it goes into a heavy token deck where it has that like secondary in a long game, you can
maybe
win.
Like a squirrel deck.
Yes,
especially with
potentially
the new one.
Yeah, I heavily considered it in my Essex deck because it can create a ton of tokens. And so
Do you
it's
realize, side note really quick,
Hmm.
the new Chatterfang squirrel, that with pitiless plunderer, pitiless plunderer, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Plunderer? Whatever.
Yep.
If you have a sack outlet and you have squirrels, you basically make infinite amount of squirrel, like, because it's making
Squirrels
a
and
treasure
treasures.
token. Yeah. So
That's
if you have-
easy.
yeah.
That's crazy.
This card's gonna be crazy because of freaking. I also saw with Smothering Tithe. Every time you're getting a treasure token, you're getting a squirrel token with it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't work because it doesn't work with the colors. Anyways, back to it. This is Adam Wine distracted a little bit here.
Are you gonna build Chatterfang?
I don't know. It's green. I can finally build
And
green.
black. Yeah, green and black.
It's like my two favorite combos almost. Yeah, I think I like green and black. It's like my second. It's either that green and blue and green and black, I think, are 1 and 2. Cool story, Hansel. I don't
Green and
have
blue.
it.
Green and blue.
Yeah.
And that is what I have.
So you let me ramble there, and then that's how we end it.
That's how we end it. There we go. Are you gonna hit the cha-ching button? Take that one to the bank, y'all. Oh boy.
Or it could be you could kind of combine the two. Let's see if I can get it right. All right, here we go. So it's dang it, you can't switch back.
Hello, boobies.
Then ka-ching. Hello, boobies. Ka-ching. Maybe I'll combine all the buttons together. All right. Let's keep moving on just in case we don't want to lose.
We don't want to lose me.
One
Spec.
to rule them all.
So we are getting to one spec because we're under an hour and we didn't lose Lowery yet. Not gonna wood.
Yes.
All right, this week we are going with Aether Revolt. If you don't know what one spec is, we are picking one card that we think you can spec on from a certain set, and we think that that card will go up. So, Lowery, why don't you start us off with your first pick or your only pick?
My only pick. Yes. I'm going to go with Inspiring Statuary. Put Sanctuary down at Statuary. Inspiring Statuary. And I would go with the pre-release foil on TCG. There's only 11 listings, and there is only like the foils, regular foils around $10. The pre-release foil sitting at about $5, but there's not a lot left, and so that will probably double pretty soon. The card is really cool. I've been putting it into a lot more decks lately, and it is very powerful. Very powerful indeed.
Did you say how many decks it was in?
No.
God damn it. I don't want to pull up EDH Rec. I just had it up. I'm like, they had an ad going. I'm like, oh man, I'm surprised our video didn't go down there.
We're lucky. And so that would be my advice. We can move on to yours and I'll look up for the decks.
Well, I dig this card a lot. So yeah, you said, what were the foils? What were they sitting at about?
The normal foils are at 10. Pre-releases you can get a couple at 5, and those will shoot up to 10 pretty quick too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I like that card a lot, especially if you get a artifact kind of heavy deck, because this or some set to come out that's pretty heavy in the artifact. This will definitely jump up there. Mine also deals with artifact. What? Aether Revolt and dealing with artifacts? Mine is Whir of Invention.
Yeah.
Specifically the Planeswalker foil, the little foil stamp. There's only like 8 copies of those left, but you can get those for about $4. It's a no-brainer because this card at one point, the foils of the regular pack foils did get up to about $15-20. It has come down since. You can pick up those for about $5 to $7, either the pre-release foils or the foils. Problem is there's a lot of inventory on those, but this card is just, it's a solid card for being able to go search for any artifacts and put it into the battlefield, and you can use your artifacts to tap to go do this. So Court of Calling, but for artifacts.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Like the comparison, Court of Calling was a $20 card before the one reprint, and then it just got reprinted again.
And yeah, yep.
And so, but that card is really good. And
Yeah, and-
this card, Whir of Invention, is really good.
And you're kind of the non-foils are pretty close to the foils, so that's another thing that you might want to jump on some of those foils. There isn't going to be a lot left of those Planeswalker ones. I don't know. It says when they started doing that Planeswalker stamp, that's just from like the last couple years, right? I mean, I don't because okay, that's why that one's in there. So your non-foils are at $3 to $4 at this point. So you spend $1 or $2 more and get the foils. Easy pickup right there.
That seems right.
Yeah,
that seems.
And that is in 15,000 EDH rec decks, by the way. So.
That is a lot more than Inspiring Statuary, because Inspiring Statuary is in 5,807 decks. But I think it's gaining steam. That's my thing. It's going to be used. It's going to be. What's my proof? It's a better card than people give it credit for. Along with the treasures continually being
a
support.
Thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my pick when I thought that we were on a different set until we right before we started. So had to deal with treasures because treasures are fucking awesome.
Very cool.
Side note, go pick up Spell Swindle. Man, I can't fucking talk. This is just too long of drinking wine for the last couple hours.
Lucky.
End this episode. All right. Both are good, solid picks. That is the end of our, for now, how to kill, how to beat, how to fight, all the colors that we have, all the kind of used things in there. All right. That should do it for this week. We will catch you guys next week.
Thanks for listening.
See ya.
Bye.
Sega. Shit. Get back to it. Get over to it. Come on, Adam.
I love boobs. I'm talking tatas. I love boobs. I'm bonkers for honkers. I love boobs. Thanks for the memories. I love boobs.
Good song.